First time you're in this room, or you've been here for other classes?
Other classes.
Okay.
And how much for this class?
30. Yeah. Okay. We have to do some work today on the Sfirot. So the truth is, before we start, there's a page on the table. Here's one. Here's two. Are there any more here? Well worth reading. It's from Shlomo Carlebach. I'm going to ask Rabbi if we have any more. Hi, Shalom. Sit on this side. Please, yes. Okay, also. I will be handing out some papers.
Okay, I'll wait for that. You know, you went to Gibraltar.
Yeah.
Benji Marach's house, that's where I met you.
Really? Wow, amazing. And you're living here now?
I live in California then, but I live here.
So welcome.
Do you have any more CDs of the music? With the music?
I usually just send out a link to my Dropbox nowadays instead of making CDs.
Yeah. The CD I bought in what class? It was empty.
No, they weren't empty. They were only playable on a computer. That's the whole thing. They can't play. An MP3 is different than a regular CD. It's just a technical.
Oh, wow.
So I owe you something. If you'll write me an email, I'll send you the whole thing because it's the.
What is it? The computer?
Yeah.
The computer?
Yeah.
What's your email?
I'll give it to you later. We're starting the class now, okay? So this is a song. We sang it last week. We'll sing it again a little bit this week. Bar Yochai. Well, we're starting on the back of it, and we're going backwards from Keter down. So you'll see there's a little print there, Keter, and then above that is Chochmah, and the top of it is Bina. So we're starting with Keter, and we're going backwards. Okay. The idea of the song, the way it's written, is it goes up, and then you can sing it backwards and come down. The point is to make a pathway, right? To go up and come down. A lot of what Jewish prayer, Jewish meditation is about, what life is about, what prophecy is about, going in and coming out, going up, coming down, going to the left, going to the right. All these different things we'll talk about today in terms of the Sfirot are different ways to use our mind to understand or to get into a certain dynamic. At any rate, going up and going down is very, 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 very important. Our Torah speaks about Hashem being b'shamayim mima'al, in the heavens above, ve'al ha'aretz mitachat, and on the earth below. It uses above and below. So even though really there's no above and below in any literal sense, it's only in order to orient us, in order to give us a sense, a spatial sense of a spiritual reality. But still, so it helps. It's limited, but it helps. And then once you get it down, the up and the down, the in and the out, then you can move beyond into present. No past, no future, no up, no down. It's all here. But it takes practice. So we're starting again with the song that's on the second side of that page that you have in front of you. Somebody was sitting in that seat, so he just walked out for a second. So in order to be, it's cool? It's all right with you? All right? So, okay, so welcome to the class. This was meant to be a meditation from the very beginning, the song, the Sfirot, the whole idea of writing a song that's based on Sfirot, it's based on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, him being the one to whom the song is dedicated, that we're coming close to Lag BaOmer next Wednesday night and Thursday, that he embodies the revelation of the Sfirot, which is the light of the Torah. There's the vessels of the Torah, and then there's the light of the Torah. There's the body, and there's the soul. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai represents the idea that a body, we have to build ourselves from below, but we have to make ourselves for that which comes down from above, right? That our vessel should be open-ended at the top so we can receive. So we have an infinite connection to infinity, to eternity, and even as we walk and live in this world. Shalom, shalom. So from the Keter backwards, Bar Yochai, O Mufla Rumala, Yareta Milahabit Kilavla, Taluma Be'ain Korala, Namta'ain Lo Tishurecha, Bar Yochai Nimshavta Ashrecha, Shemen Sason Mechaverecha Nel Chochma, Bar Yochai Yod Chochma Keduma, Ishkavta Lichevodo Penima, Shaloshim Ushtaim Netivot Reshit Teruma, Akruv Nimshach Zivorecha, Bar Yochai Nimshachta Ashrecha, Shemen Sason Mechaverecha, Bina, Bar Yochai B'Kodesh HaKodashim, Kav Yarok Mechadesh Chodashim, Sheva Shabbatot Sod Hamishim, Kashalta Kishreshin Kesharecha, Bar Yochai Nimshachta Ashrecha, Shemen Sason Mechaverecha. So you notice in Keter, it says V'ayin Korala. Bar Yochai, when you reach the highest level of the mysterious hidden light, you fear to gaze due to the enormity of its radiance. Right? It is the most hidden level of God's will and purpose, which is called no thing, concerning which it is said, no eye shall see you. So no thing is ayin. Right? Huh?
What did you put Keter in? Which sequence?
It's on the other side. It's on the back side. Oh no, you're on the right side. What do you mean on the sequence? I said we're singing this song backwards.
Yeah.
There's a reason to sing it forwards and backwards, up and down. So ayin is so interesting. Ayin, nothing, no thingness. It's not that it's nothing. As Rabbi Kaplan says in Inner Space, who knows that by heart? Such a special thing he says. Ayin. Why is Hashem called Ayin? He has it in chapter 4, he has it in chapter 12. It's because of its proximity to Ein Sof that Adam Kadmon is also referred to as Ayin, nothingness. That is not a nothingness which implies a lack of existence. There's no deficiency in the Ayin, only fullness beyond the capacity of any created being to experience directly. Rather, it is nothingness or no thingness because of the lack of category in the mind in which to place it. Ayin is therefore only nothingness relative to us. It is the nothingness of ineffability and hiddenness. It is the no thing. It is no thing because it is much more rarefied than the something of creation. In this sense, like God himself, it is ultimately unfathomable and beyond our ability to comprehend. So that's Keter, Adam Kadmon. And even, but that's what's behind everything. In other words, all the Sfirot, all the way down to the very bottom, should be windows to that which is beyond. And then we can get the full light. Shlomo Carlebach, in these pages that were left here from Shlomo Katz's class, there's only 2 left. Maybe they have more somewhere else. Says a beautiful thing that I wanted to. He says. He starts out that Hashem, the David HaMelech says, Hashem silcha al yad yaminecha. Hashem is your shadow by your right hand. So the Baal Shem Tov said about this, that just as your shadow moves accordingly to your movement, right? So Hashem moves according to your movement also. To what you do, Hashem responds. Okay, it's maybe doesn't seem like that sometimes. I'm doing so great. Why are you treating me so harshly? But if we would get inside, so he's treating me exactly according to my actions. So he says, at the moment I do something good, some type of holy goodness is coming over me, like a drop of holy rain. He says, let's call it a holy shower. When I'm doing something bad, something dark is coming over me as well. When the great Kabbalists would do an act of holiness, they would first say, Hareini oseh et atzmi merkava l'shchinato yitbarach. I'm making myself a chariot for Hashem. And it's a meditation where you have it in the Sfari Siddur. Where you go down from the top to the bottom. I'm making my cranium a merkava, a chariot for Hashem's name, spelled this way, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei with kamatz, and then my right brain and my left brain. I'm making my right arm and my left arm, my torso, my right leg, my left leg, my yesod, and my whole being. I want to become a merkava. So the meditation is to open ourselves up to that. So Rav Shlomo said, I want to make myself into a vessel to receive God's presence. You see what it is, the moment I make myself a vessel for that holiness to come into me, it gives me the strength via heavenly federal express. So this is so he says that conscious intention, when I connect to becoming a vessel for Hashem's light, I open up something. At first I might not feel it, right? But what we're doing, even when we say a bracha like Unevarachacha aleha b'kedusha v'tahara, I'm blessing Hashem on the mezonot that I'm eating. Unevarachacha, and I'm blessing you b'kedusha v'tahara, with holiness and with purity. I'm really asking Hashem, bring holiness and purity into my life. And when then things start to happen, I say, hey, what's going on here? So I should remember, I know I just said a bracha that said I want holiness and purity, right? In other words, words and intentions open up channels. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's what's behind singing these songs, having these intentions is, and my main emphasis here is that there are a lot of beautiful things in the Sfirot, and we're going to learn about them today. But the Sfirot are like colored windows, beautiful colored windows. But the light that shines through them is the light of Ein Sof. That's what we want. That's what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and the Zohar and the Ari is calling Ayin. That which is beyond thing. That which is not in my categories. I don't have any. Once it comes in my chesed, I say, oh, Hashem, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. You love me. I feel love towards you. Just like a child feels love for a parent or for a teacher when the teacher says, beautiful, that's so good. You can do it, right? Whereas if the teacher says, failure, you're plugging into that child, we know what happens to children. So our job for ourselves and for our friends, for our children, for our grandchildren, for everybody is to open up potential, open up infinite potential, to become open vessels. That means that the power of our speech, the power of our thoughts, right, is that we can bring down blessing for others and for ourselves. So the bracha of al Svirat Omer that we spoke about last week. And then after we do this, then I want to share with you specifically teachings from Inner Space about the Sfirot. The whole thing of Pesach and the Sfira is that even on Pesach night, we say, Hayu misaprim b'yitziat Mitzrayim. Did anybody have read anything from the Baal Shem Tov, from anybody, things that I've written, of why the word is misaprim b'yitziat Mitzrayim? It should be logically misaprim b'sipur. If you want to say they were recounting the story. So why is the language there? The Baal Shem Tov asks in the Abraham Yeshua Heschel of Apt, which we learned here before Pesach. So what does he say? Anybody remember?
As it was saying it was actually drawing down this like a sapir of Spira, of Sipur story of Sefer, which is it's how it happened, as we were saying, about what happened in
Right, they were going, and it was a shining, and they were going up. He made such a beautiful point. They were going up into that higher place where the light comes from, called the Makom, called Yitziat Mitzrayim. The place in Hebrew called Yitziat Mitzrayim, in English, the Exodus, is Bina. And that's a special place that the light from Ein Sof comes into Keter, into Chochmah, into Bina. And Bina is above the line of the 7 lower Sfirot. You know, to really understand the Sfira, the Sfirat Omer, we have to understand that Bina is above. Bina is here in this diagram, and here in this diagram. Right? It's above the line of the lower 7. The whole Sfirat Omer is taking place according to our Sidurim in the lower 7 Sfirot. But according to the Ari, it's only half the story. We need to get in touch with this stuff up here. Anyway, so the point is that in order to shine the light that originally shone on the first Pesach, and to bring down more of that light, l'saper is to shine. Ha-shamayim misaperim kibod el. Not only they tell, they recount, they speak, the heavens speak of the glory of Hashem, they misaper, they shine it down into us. So that's the double meaning of saper. Then when you get to Sfirat Omer, you have to do the same thing. Otherwise, like, what's a connection? It's all just a bunch of different things. What does it mean to say Sfirat Omer? I'm counting the Omer. Because I want to count, and of course the pshat is always important. I'm counting because I'm anticipating, I'm looking forward to something. I want to go towards the 50. And we don't count the 50, you only count up to 49, because why? Why do we only count to 49? The Torah says count 50. And the rabbis say, well, it means, it doesn't mean to count 50 because, you can't count 50. Well, why? Why can't I count 50? It's above counting. Pesach is not part of the counting, and Shavuot is not part of the counting. The counting starts the day after Pesach and ends the day before Shavuot. So the counting is our work to connect to the light that shone on Pesach and that will again shine on Shavuot. And we can just be a vessel for it. It really, in the Ari's Torah, it really is a crown that comes down. A crown can only come down after you do the work to make the body upon which the crown can come down. So really the difference, they say, between Pesach and Shavuot is that the gift before the work and the gift after the work. A gift after the work, we have the ability to maintain it, to make it part of us. It comes into every part of me. The Ein, or the light, or whatever we want to call it, permeates every part of me. My chesed is greater. My ability, as we'll talk about, my chesed is my ability to give, to be in contact with others, to be in contact with Hashem, to be an open vessel. My gevura. Why do I need gevura? Why do I need boundaries? Why do I need the ability to make a definition of this is me This is what I want to believe in. This is what I want to do. I have free will. I have free choice. I've made a decision. This is what I want to do. This is a sense of gevura. A person who's too gevura, we'll talk about that. Too chesed, too gevura, without balancing the two. Right? Problems. And then tiferet. The way that Rabbi Kaplan is going to deal with it, and it would really be nice if you had already read it, but whatever the case, the way Rabbi Kaplan's going to deal with it is always to compare. You can't really get a good idea of this until you get a good idea of this, and then you say, you go back and forth and you dance, and you realize there are really two aspects of one greater whole, but you have to put them in a laboratory. You have to just, what's this? What's this? They're always interacting with each other. There's almost like you can't distinguish. But if you artificially, to some degree, distinguish them, then you start to get a handle on what they are, then you have more of an ability to utilize them. They are the powers that have been given to us. My chesed is a power that I've been given. My gevura is a power I want a mature chesed, a mature gevura. I don't want to have it spilling out over things in a way that I don't know if it's controlling me. So there has to be an element of dot, of consciousness, of awareness coming into my chesed, so that my chesed grows. Again, these are ideas from the Yetz Chaim that I want to draw down chokhmah, bin, and dot into my chesed. That has to make sense. I'm given chesed. And it could be as every human being is different. We're given a chesed and when we're first born, but that's the period of chesed of our lives, when we're connected to our mother. So important, right? Then the age of 2, generally speaking, in other words, the sfirot are built into our existence. From the age of 2, generally speaking, is the age of no. What does no mean? Why am I saying no? Yeah. Chesed is like, I'm part of you. I don't have any individual existence. I don't know if I even have a hand. Whose hand is it? There's no. It's like that level of oneness is unbelievable. It's just that it's not maintainable. At the end of our lives, we should have the same oneness we had when we were babies. Now, right, it'll be different. But anyway, so 2 is very important. 2, it's 2, the terrible 2s, because 2 is the opposite of 1. 2 is dichotomy, is fragmentation, is argument, is tension. Oh my goodness, it's so difficult to handle a 2-year-old, right? But it's so important to support them at that level of their development, and to be there for them, and to not get caught up in being, So there's a Gemara in Berachot. It says that there's 2 verses in the Torah. One says that children shall suffer the sins of the fathers, and one says they shall not. I think it's on page 6 or 7, Vav or Zayin. So the Gemara answers is avonot avoteim biyadem, when they're still maintaining the sins of their ancestors, and they're still doing them, then they'll be visited by the same punishment or whatever, strictness that was coming to the ancestors, because they're still doing it. You're carrying forth. You got to be a new moment of evolution in your family history. If you got something that's coming to you and you're doing it, and if you discover something in yourself, maybe you don't know your parent or your grandparent did it, but it's being given to you to change the evolution of your family. At any rate, my point there was a side point. Besides being a new in my family and make a major shift, is that it was maybe too subtle for me to catch it, but it's like I want to make sure that I'm like, so I'm not getting exactly what I meant. It's something there. Please forgive me. I'm talking about the terrible twos at least. And the twos have an individuation, the beginning of individuation, of me being me, and no is my way of saying that. And I'm too young to understand what's going on with me. I don't even know what's going on, but it's a force within me that I need to establish my individuality. 3, 4, or whatever, when we get to stage 3, Tiferet, which is the week that we're in now. Actually, we're in Netzach now. We're in the 4th week. So last week was Tiferet. Today was Tiferet of Netzach. Now, when we're going to count tonight, today was 24. Tonight will be it's Netzach, but Netzach. At any rate, Tiferet is, I want to be me, but I also want to be part of my family. So I'm willing to compromise a little bit on my tantrum to still get the love and the attention that I need from my mommy and daddy and from my brothers and sisters. So it's built in, right? That once I get that, then if I'm getting it in a healthy way, or if I'm getting it in a way that it's cutting into me and I'm getting wounded. I'm not getting either the chesed that I needed or the support from my gevura, or I'm not getting. So many of us have wounded midot. I didn't get the love. I didn't get the loving strictness. I didn't get how to be part of my family. So it doesn't mean we're cursed forever. We can go back and do healing work on ourselves to fix our chesed, to fix our gevura, to fix our teferet. So these sfirot there's all these interesting interrelationships between me, myself, and I, between myself and my family, between myself and God, between my spiritual root, right, and me, the personality. I'm opening it up because that's the way I think for me is if I say the amazing infinite number of applications of these ideas, and then to come down and we'll deal with them. But first is to open them up and to know how amazing the system that we've been given is. It's not made up by human beings. So just to finish the idea of Al Sfirat Omer, if Misaprim B'Yitziat Mitzrayim means shining down the light of the light of Ein Sof through Bina, through understanding our situation here from a higher point of view, in order to get out of our Egypts, and that's how we got out. Is that light shone down into us, and it revealed to us that we were not only slaves to Paro, but on the inner level that our midot are in a slave mentality. Our chesed is an immature state. It's called slavery. Our gevura. So the light of Bina shining down is the awakening and allowing the breathing of the midot to come out to become fully expressed. So the light coming down is so important. Now, Al Sfirat Omer, along the same lines, it has to mean the same thing. So we defined Omer based on the actual Korban HaOmer that we brought during the time of the temple. We cut barley sheaves, and they're very long. We put them in boxes. We took them to the temple, and we shook them there, and we shook off the barley from them. And then after what all the different processes are called, winnowing and all these things, and then we put them onto a thing with holes in it over a fire, and they were roasted, all right, and then they were ground, and then they were sifted through 13 sifts, and they were offered as one volume of what's called an omer. And all that there's nothing to do with omer except that it's a volume of one day's food in the desert of manna. And here we're now offering an omer of barley, of totally refined, beautiful, sifted 13 times for some reason, symbolically, to offer one barley of omer to permit all the crops from this day on, the second day of Pesach. And now on the inner level, it symbolizes that we're going to refine ourselves, right? And then the bracha comes in is that we're Sfirat Omer, we're shining into our Omer. Our offering to Hashem is an essence of who I am, who we are. It's our Malchut, our Shechina, our inner Shechina. And that Shekhinah consciousness within us, please shine into it. Allow me to come to my fullness. So in a very personal way, Sfirat Omer, like what are you getting, like what you could do with this is Sfirat Omer is a special period of 7 weeks where I'm asking Hashem to shine into the parts of me that are not fully developed, and allow me to develop them. And they should be in harmony with each other. My chesed and my gevura, my desire to love and to be in connection with other, should not be a contradiction to my need to be me, right? Again, if I'm wounded, I'm very defensive. Gevura, they say, is gematria yira. When somebody is extreme gevura, it means that really they're afraid of connection. Yira is I'm afraid. So gevura has to be softened and allowing me to have gevura that's boundary, that's a step that's defined, that I grow into myself, and I know you have boundaries and I have boundaries and I respect your boundaries, but I'm able to relate to you intimately through those boundaries and even merge with you. I mean, people, I see them as we're a bunch of concentric circles. So at first, maybe some of us meet, our outer circle meets with the next person's outer circle. Hi, nice to meet you. But then we relate to our deeper circles, and we can even come together in deep, intimate connection with each other. And then we step apart, and then I'm now richer. I'm now richer in my being because I've connected to another human being. Okay. So does anybody not have an inner space? Probably many of you. That's just a page of the song book. I have one book here. Okay, who needs? Between the three of you, can you share? I have one more here. Who can? You have two of you, three of you? You have for the two of you? Or you can share it either way you want. So I want to go to chapter 7. Which is on page 61. Here. So what's special about these two chapters, Rabbi Kaplan's treatment, right? He's giving over this class to a group of psychologists, and they're asking him, like, how do we use Kabbalah to help our patients, Rabbi? Like, he's a physicist, he's not a psychologist, but he's tuning himself to their questions. And he says, okay, I'm going to give a class on Kabbalah for you psychologists. So that's what this book is, Inner Space. It's a book made out of those classes. So there's and again, the chapters before this, chapter 5 and 6 is 5 is Keter, and chapter 6 is Chochmah and Bina and Da'at. So they are really the important. We're drawing down Chochmah, Bina, and Da'at into our midot, and that should be kind of the background for what we're going to talk about today. So here we go, page 61. Anybody in this room not read this ever? But everybody else, okay. But that's a pretty good percentage, but some of you have, right? Chesed, love, connotes kindness and altruism. Burying the dead is referred to as chesed shel emet, the true altruism, because the person you bury is unable to repay you. So chesed, love, has to mean an unconditional giving. to do something when you do not expect anything in return. The idea of giving yourself totally. We know that there's going to be problems if I do that in the wrong place with the wrong person. We know that. He's going to get to that. But the foundation of our lives, and that's actually the true thing, is that the foundation of all our these 7 qualities is that chesed has to be with they all have to be with all of the others. They all have to be, each one has to be with all the others. But even more so, chesed. It's the fuel, it's the oil that oils the machine. Our basis is chesed. Yeah, maybe I have to protect myself sometimes, but like, set your dials. I want to love every human being, right? Whoever I meet, I am Am Yisrael. I'm going to meet people, whether they're Jews or non-Jews. They're going to feel from me that there's love. How can I do that? How can I embody love? Maybe I can say, first, so some people will say, wait a second, how do I know I want to do that? The Torah says I should only love Jews. Who says I have to love people? So I say, well, it means it's a kind of a concentric circle type thing. Yes, you should love the person next to you. And yes, you should love the person that you know and that you're acquainted with. But there's also a general love for people as such because of who people are, what people are capable of, and that we should bring that light into this world. I mean, again, I'm trying to give the devil's advocate that there might be somebody who'd be bothered by having to love everybody. I don't want to love everybody. But in this room, if you would permit me to set the stage, to set the foundation of the work of the Midot is love. And of course, one of the most difficult things of love is loving oneself. So does anybody have any particular issue with why we find it difficult to love ourselves? Please come in. What kind of person are you? Do you feel that you need to, anybody here, do you feel that you need to work on your ability to love yourself? What's needed in order to do that?
Good points.
To see your good points.
It's easy to see your bad points. I mean, that's why it's so hard for us to love yourself.
So if we have a voice inside of us that's always telling us how bad we are and how much of a failure we are, we have to say, hey, where'd you come from? What are you a hangover from? Right? Teachers, parents, etc. They meant well, but they might have made some major mistakes or whatever. It's just life. A child who is in need, it's basically life. As much as a parent even would want to be there for their child at every second, it's impossible. And so therefore Shemayim sets up situations where you're going to be missing some part of what you really needed as a child. Hey, that's not fair. Unless now becoming aware of it in my relationships now, because it's going to be a constant recurring note. I'm playing my tune, and all of a sudden, every time I play C minor, it goes off, right? Why? What's going on? There's something wrong with me. It's cool. It's all right. Let's see where the hurt is, where the wound is. It's a sign to me that that's what I have to work on, to bring some love into it, right? That I really, like you say, I really am trying in all kinds of places. Like, I'm doing the best I can. Why is this hurting me? Why am I having relationships always go sour over this issue? So again, we might need the help of somebody to help us through this, or we might need to talk to God about it on a consistent basis. And I point to my friend, Yochanan. This is unbelievable. Okay, so we should talk to God. But you can see you see where I'm coming from. is that these issues that come up with me and the way I live my life are indications of where I need to do my work. And then, so there, specifically during this Omer period, there's like a blessing. The blessing of Sfirat Omer is that those issues that I need to work on become more blatant, more, and I could go through my days not realizing that these are the things that are happening, and I don't understand why things happen. But the truth is, try and remember, let's say, anything that happened today or the day before or 2 days ago that bothered you, right? Those are entry points into inner work. And I'm not saying those are the only entry points. The entry points are also good things. But the entry point into what I need to work on very often will be, hey, that really bothered me, that got to me. So love, being the basis for everything, is so important to have an ability to love myself. For me, I'd like to hear like how anybody else deals with what does it mean to love self? What are the problems in self-love? But what's the importance of it? Anybody want to share anything on that?
I think loving myself, what it reminded me of is really to be able to see myself the way God sees me. The way my God, the way that loving God sees me. Because somebody that thinks God is like a baby. But when I know that God is all loving, then I can see myself properly through that. I don't think I have the vessels to love myself. Otherwise, I don't think I understand myself. Well, I have to, you know.
Yeah, in a sense, I can see that if there is such a thing as having a conversation with myself, but when it comes to love, right? So in a sense, it's the little me loving the big me. It's the small self loving the soul. It helps to divide myself into two, but then to join myself together, that I am really all this, I am really one. But in the technique is to deal with myself as a little part and a big part. The little me that I know myself of, and the big me who's the potential me, and the neshama. That would be one way of looking at it. I want to work on loving myself with a capital S, on loving my life, the life that I've been given, the opportunities that I've been given, the things that I've done that I really love, and that I really respect, and can really feel that I'm important. So again, you're not going to go overboard. Love is not an intellectual process, but to nourish love, to allow love. Again, there's so many people who are not incapable, but have difficulty with this issue. So one way to help get through the door is that I love the me that's the real me. Maybe I'm not capable of being that whole me yet, but that's what I want to be. And I want to be somebody who I'm actually able to be a light of love for somebody else. And then I'll know through the mirror that I am actually lovable.
What part am I playing? Like, because I've heard that you play the bigger you.
Okay.
To love the little child in you. Because I can grasp the big me, So.
I remember we talked about it that in the morning we say Modeh ani lefanecha melachai v'kayam she'echazati b'nishmati, that you return back into me, my neshama. And then, so that means that I'm the little me and I'm getting back the neshama, right? The higher part of myself. Even though the ani is my core, the core of my being, but it's still a nefesh level relative to the neshama. I am just a vessel for the higher part, but I'm still looking up. But for me, even though it's not in the words, but Baruch Atah Hashem of the Amidah, when we bow down and we rise up. I always pictured it like a mountain in a Japanese painting that it has a cloud bank around it, or a baby coming through the birth canal. We're coming up from bowing. I'm coming up into the higher me. And at that moment, it got so clear to me that I'm now the higher me, and I'm looking down at the little me, and I love you. You're cool, you're good, you're really trying your best, and I want to help you be you. So that shift is a real thing for me, and I like to stay in that place of Baruch Atah Hashem. It's the Hashem, the presence of Hashem at that higher level that allows me to look at my life from the top of my mountain and not just from the bottom. And so therefore that's less there's a natural love, at least the way I feel it and the way I see it. I might be missing a lot here, I don't know. But the way I feel it, that the higher me has much less trouble loving the little me. It's the little me that has problems loving the little me. Because I'm filled with judgments. So I have to check out those judgments. I have to examine my chametz. What is toxic? What is poisoning me? Through allowing me to know who I'm a good person. Why? I'm doing so many good things. I'm trying so hard. Like, what's holding me back inside, right? Again, the questions are, in Hidbodedut, the questions should be followed by silence. I'm asking the universe, so to speak. I'm really asking Hashem. I'm asking, what's holding me back from being able to love myself? Love is the basis of my existence. It's you created me because you love me. You need some philosophical principles to strengthen your conversation. You created the world with love and with love in mind. It's a world of love. Olam chesed yibaneh. You've created a world of giving. Why is it that I'm blocked? And then you open yourself up. And it may not come immediately, and it may not come in words, but that process of inner dialogue, right? Asking that essential question, I need to feel love in my life. I need to be able to give love, and I need to be able to feel to receive love. If I'm blocked in one or the other, I want to examine it, and I want the dissolution to dissolve through the light that's coming in. My questioning, my desire to connect to love is a sign from heaven that I'm ready to perhaps now receive love. Okay. So Rabbi Kaplan says, Chesed is the idea of giving oneself totally. We mentioned that the lower seven sphere parallel the 7 days of creation. So yeah, he's doing a thing with the 7 days of creation. He's doing a thing with the 7 personalities associated with the 7 sphirot. And he's going to go back and forth and use a lot of different ways of looking at it in order to ground real chesed in ourselves, real gevurah in ourselves, real teferet, etc., etc. He's going to use the different models that we have, but the main thing that we're getting from all of it is that I'm going to feel now the ability to be much more of a vessel for chesed.
I want to that love is an emotion, and that I think it's the emotion that's really that is the catalyst for the transmission.
Beautiful.
But no, it's a transmission. You can't transmit Judaism without love to the next generation.
That's right.
In the Shema, if you say to your children the Shema, and for the little dead, and they say to their children, and they say to their children, or the Kohanim that have to bless us,
Be'ava.
And that passes down, where we should be in terms of the Tefillah. And and now he's speaking about how it's a vessel for transmission of the Sefirot, and the light through the Sefirot, and love is like it gives the impetus for it.
Very good. Anybody else want to share? Okay. The word ahava. Anybody know what the root of ahava is? Hav. Hav. There's a rabbi in the Gemara in Kiddushin Daf Lamed, This is Rabbi, what's his first name? Acha bar Ahava. But sometimes he's called Rav Acha bar Matana. Like, well, what's your name? Was your father's name Matana or Ahava? So they say it's the same thing. 10, the root of Matana is giving. And the root of Ahava is Hav, is to give. And that's why it's so important to know both ways that we called him. Rav Acha bar Matana, Rav Acha bar Ahava. And of course, we know from Rav Dessler the importance of giving in order to love. It's not that I give you because I love you. It's that in giving to you, in being connected to you through giving, I am able to love you. And this all goes back to the Chovata Levavot and the 1,000 years ago of giving a child, giving an infant. And the more you give, the more you interact with that child, the more that the child is real to you, the more you love. The love becomes a bond, but it's through giving. So giving and love are so interconnected. And here again, unconditional giving. So there, the idea that that if we do have to separate between the person and the deeds, I may disagree with the person's deeds, with their actions, with their philosophies, their ideology. But how much am I able to maintain connection with the good or with the actual essence of that person, which I am not allowed to judge because they're a human being created in the image of God. I once heard a story about a Jungian psychologist. How do you do that? How do you help people? She said, I speak to the good in them. I give them back an emunah, a belief in their own goodness. Rabbi Nachman again. But you have the ability to strengthen. And I went to a workshop once where we said, I want to connect to somebody else's yechida, their highest level of their soul, and create a triangle that I'm loving them, I'm loving their highest part of them, I'm giving them the ability to be more themselves by connecting them to their yechida, in my intention. So you do that with anybody. You can do that all the time. You can speak to somebody's essence and connect them to God through your intention. And then love becomes the most natural, not only the vehicle, and not only it's not only the oil, it's everything. The love is the vessel, it's the connection itself. Okay. So he says the first day of creation is light. Vayar Elohim et or kitov. So the word or is mentioned 5 times on the first day of creation. And so the word light is therefore very important in the first day of creation, which corresponds to chesed. And so he says, the main property of light is it has no bounds. It just goes. If there's nothing stopping it, it will spread. It's the equivalent to chesed, giving without bounds, being unrestrained, being unbounded. The Ari and the Etz Chaim speaks about the or was ubiquitous. The or was everywhere. There was nothing but God's light, right? That's the image we have of pre-creation. The light of Hashem's love everywhere. And the tzimtzum, the holding back of the love, is the creation of a world where we're going to have to do something to get the love. It's going to be more gevuradik, more of a condition. You act such and such a way, I will give you my love. But behind that, the ground of the whole thing, that what started the whole thing, and that's still there, even though it's hidden, is love. I want to communicate that a little bit better. You hear the background behind everything is complete, unbounded light. I probably could get the text of it in one of my, where is it in my books? It's here. Thank you. Inner space. Oh my goodness, of all things. Okay. Here, chapter 13. Before all things were created, the supernal light was simple. It filled all existence. There was no empty space, which would be space, emptiness, or void. Everything was filled with the simple or the light of Ein Sof. There was no category of beginning, no category of end. All was one simple, undifferentiated, infinite light. When it arose in his simple will to create all universes, he constricted his infinite light, distancing it to the sides around a center point, leaving a vacated space. Now there was a place in which all things could be brought into existence. Atzilut, emanated, created, Bria, formed, Yetzira, and completed, Asiya. He then drew a simple concentrated ray of the infinite light into the vacated space. It was through this ray, serving as a conduit, a kav, a pipeline, that the light of Ein Sof was brought down to spread into the entire vacated space, but in a limited way, because if it would be full force, then it would bring the whole thing back into Ein Sof again, and he didn't want that. He wants a world to exist where he can give us his light in such a way that we can maintain it, our individual existence, and yet have the fullness of the light. So light being, my whole point, and sorry to overdo it, my whole point is that the whole basis of everything is the ubiquitous light of the Ein Sof that has no vessels, that's beyond anything. And that's what he really wants to give us. This is one of the ideas of Keter, is that Keter will be manifest, is first in thought, but it's only last in deed. So for instance, the Bahir, the Midrash says, and then the Bahir, the Midrash says, Vayar Elohim et ha'or ki tov, Hashem saw the light, and it was very good. Good. Oh, I love this light. The Midrash says it was the light of Shabbat. It was Shabbat before creation. The Shabbat in a very subtle and beautiful sense. The Shabbat before creation. So I'm going to make Havdalah. Vayavdil Elohim ben ha'or ben ha'chosha. He made Havdalah. And the Bahir says he held back 6/7 of the light and created the world with 1/7. He says, if they use this properly, then I'll give them the other 6/7 at the end, because my whole thought at the beginning is to give it all to them. But I can't, because if I give them all the light, then they won't be able to work with it. They won't be able to handle it. It'll be overwhelming. There won't be anything for them to do. But I give them 1/7 of the light, then they make of that something. Then I can give them the 6/7, and they can handle it, and they can exist in the full light without being returned into nothingness. Dance with that.
That's Mashiach?
That's more than Mashiach. Mashiach is only a step. The third Beit HaMikdash is only a halfway house. Eden is only a stage. Beyond Eden, beyond. There's no end to what Hashem wants to give us. Complete individual, eternal existence in His light, in the full revelation of His light.
The conduit is Eretz Yisrael, the place where that light comes into the world?
In a certain way, yeah, but it comes in later to call it Eretz Yisrael. What we just read here was that the way He made the universe is that He love, and then He pulled back. The Tzimtzum is a pulling back of His unconditional love to create a world of Elokim, a world where we have to do something. But the context within which this is happening is total love. It's just that in order for us to become part of the story, He has to hold back His light to create the possibility of us being individual. Mm-hmm. So stage 1 is full light, full love, total immersion in oneness, undifferentiated oneness. Stage 2, the Ari says, is the Tzimtzum, is the holding back of the light to create the possibility of two-ness. And this hurts. And where's God? And why did He leave me alone? And why am I alone? And why does it hurt? And why does everything go wrong? That's stage 2. That's the Omer period relative to Pesach. And stage 3 is coming back into the light. It's called Klau, Uprat, Uklau. Ve'er tadan ela ke'en aprat. The idea of coming back into the klal at the end in stage 3, but then still having individuality, is the gift that he wanted to give us from the very beginning. All love, gevura, individuality, evil. Coming, and it's all in order to come back into the light, but not be destroyed by the light, not to go to melt into the light, but to be able to be individual within the full revelation of the light. I'll talk about it more. I'll show you my writings on it here in this book. I brought 3 copies today. This is one of my main books where I talk about what the ramifications of Hashem's oneness are in our relationship to it, in our ability to connect to it and to become agents and models of it within this world. We are in the image of Hashem. So our oneness corresponds to his oneness. So, I mean, Eretz Yisrael at one point comes in, but in terms of the abstract, it doesn't. For instance, it comes in, I'll answer you this way, that we say that there's a midrash, that the whole world, there's a midrash, there's, at the end of Yeshaya, in Perek Samech Vav of Yeshayahu HaNavi, the last Perek of Isaiah, Yavo kol basar v'yishtachavu l'Hashem. Something like that, but all flesh will come and bow before Hashem in Yerushalayim. So the Midrash says they'll be coming every week. Well, how are they going to do that? So, and not talking about flights. So the Leshem, I can just have to jump to him because that's where I know this from. The Leshem Shov Achlama Rabbi Shlomo Eliashiv, one of the great Mikubalim of the 1800s and 1900s. He says there's another midrash that says that all of the world will become Eretz Yisrael, and all of Eretz Yisrael will become Yerushalayim. And then he says it doesn't stop there. All of Eretz Yisrael will become Yerushalayim, and all of Yerushalayim will become the Holy of Holies, and all of the Eretz Yisrael and all of Yerushalayim will become Holy of Holies, and then it won't stop there. It'll be the level of the sun. It'll be the level above the sun. It's like I see it as a process of taking off the outer shell. And what was there the whole time was Ein Sof. But again, if Hashem would reveal his Ein Sof before we're prepared for it, it will destroy us. That we call going back into the undifferentiated state. But that's not what he wants. He wants us to go forward into full eternal individual existence in his eternal infinite light. So that distinction is we're not going backwards, we're going forwards into eternity. And I really have written a lot about it. There's one chapter in one of my books, The Well of Living Waters, I think it's the true Jewish concept of infinity. Because it's so important, and I had to go to the sources to get it. And it's there, and let's use it. Let's understand the bigger picture of what you were part of. So we didn't do much here in terms of getting past Chesed, but that doesn't bother me because I think it was really important to talk about Chesed, and that everything is happening within the context of Chesed. He goes into to Avram Avinu being an embodiment of Chesed. He goes into Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov as the embodiments of the 3 main things, and of course, it's clear that they all embodied all of them. It's just that Abraham excelled in Chesed. Yitzhak was the paradigm of the disciple who took the essence of Abraham and built himself up with it, from a different point of view. There's a lot about the relationship between Abraham and Yitzhak in all the Hasidic Sfarim. Very important, very beautiful stuff. Very enlightening. Like one point is the Ma'or Vashemesh, the Talmud of Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhinsk. Very beautiful things that he writes about them. Yaakov being then the harmonization of the two, the actual absolute extremes, but in a harmonized way. He's not a kind of a wishy-washy mixture of Avram and Yitzhak. He's maximum Avram and maximum Yitzhak, but in one person. So Rabbi Kaplan goes back and forth between Chesed and Gevurah in this chapter in order to give us the sense of how the dynamic works. And I think it's like really valuable. Chapter 8 is much longer on page 64. Here he goes now, because every time he starts with what we just did, and now how we're going to bring Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet into this next triad, Netzach Yesod. How does that work? He says, really, they're all part of one. There it is.
Thank you so much.
That Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach Yesod. They're all part of a Vav. There's 6 of them. Here it is here's this Vav again. The Vav is 6, and it represents a totality, and the 6 represent specific pieces of a puzzle that come together as Vav. So his point is that Hashem, as from the very beginning of the book, that Hashem wants to give us existence, which is like a coin, a yud, our hand like this. And he holds it in his hand, which is hey, which is 5. And he stretches his arm out, which is his Vav, Hashem's Vav. And he says, here, I want you to, and our hey is to receive existence. So he says the Vav is the reaching out of Hashem towards us, and our reaching out towards us, others. The Vav is the Vav of giving. But what he says, and what he keeps coming back to in chapter 8, is that my giving at the level of Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet is that I'm just beginning to learn in my Chesed that I want to be a giver. In my Gevurah, that I need to have boundaries, and I need to not to give you when it's not going to be good for me. And my Tiferet is to strike the balance. But you notice I said when it's not going to be good for me to give you. Netzach Yesod, he says, is more relative to who I'm giving to. It's tailoring down the same dynamic at a level where I want to give you as a teacher to a student, as a father and a mother to a child, and as a friend to another friend, where I'm now taking much more into consideration who you are, not just who I am and what I want to give. That's how he does it here. I can like pinpoint it if you want, and it'd be good to I think read it inside.
Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet.
Now we're in Netzach Yesod. Where does he say this?
165.
Yeah.
Examines the relationship between
Not yet. Let's see. You know where he does it? He does it at the beginning of chapter 9, which is Malchut. Yeah, where he's going and doing at the beginning of chapter 9. He's going through the whole thing, which is actually what we need right now, because we don't want to read everything. So, but please read it at home, and if you need the book, I can send you the text of the book, an email or whatever, or you can buy the book. Or in order, chapter 9, page 74. Everybody have it? In order to avoid any confusion between the first Gevurah Tiferet, which is my right arm, my left arm, and the second triad, which corresponds physically to my right leg, my left leg, and my yiskin. In order to avoid confusion, let me give 2 examples illustrating the relationship they have with each other. In the case of a city wanting to control traffic flow across a bridge, he lived in New York. Chesed would be to let as much traffic through as wants to cross. Gevurah would close it off completely, which happens too often in New York. And Tiferet would try to reach some kind of optimum. We now have established that we want to find the optimum, but in terms of whom? An optimum for the city or for the people who want to enter. there are two possible optimums. For us, the drivers, let as many of us through as you can. For the city has 10 other things going on in the city, and they have to control it from their, so to speak, bird's eye view. And letting few of us through would be perhaps optimum for them because they don't want to cause gridlocks other places. So another example would be to look at the relationship in terms of the desire to give. Chesed would be giving without regard to the consequences. Gevurah is holding back tightly, not giving anything. Tiferet is trying to reach the optimum of how much to give. But again, how is the optimum decided? Should it be according to the giver's needs or the receiver's? Netzach is giving the optimum according to the giver's needs. Hod is giving it according to the receivers. Now, in a sense, up here in Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, it's also giving according to the giver's needs, and relative to the whole triad below, Netzach Hod Yesod is giving according to the receiver's needs. But then within Netzach Hod Yesod, Netzach is giving according to my needs, and Hod is giving according to the receiver's needs. Yeah, it's a little like it. Sounds complicated, but maybe. Okay, again, Netzach is giving the optimum according to the giver's needs. Hod is giving it according to the receiver's. Yesod is giving it according to the needs of both. In the traffic analogy, Netzach would involve controlling traffic according to the city's needs. Hod would be controlling it according to the individual needs of each driver. Yesod would again be the optimum of considering the needs of both. So he says here, we can see then that Tiferet is trying to reach an optimum. Yesod is reaching it. And Netzach and Hod are the different sides of that optimum. So this is, again, a man who, when he would think of these things, ideas for him were like Lego blocks. You could take them apart and put them together in different ways. And he was very creative. And again, he was doing this with people, and it was interactive. And we should be, in a sense, also thinking how I can reach my maximum of giving. That's my best way of giving. When I'm writing a book, like, I have to have in mind who I'm writing it for. I'm not writing a book that can't be read by people. It'd be absolutely cross purposes. It has to have a sense of connection to the reader. The reader has to feel that I'm with them, that I know that your questions are there, and I'm sensitive to them. And in the next paragraph, you're going to say, "Oh, good. I was thinking that." Notice, I need to be with you. That's a Netzach Hod Yesod relationship. Even writing, the Ramchal says, is when a sofer takes a quill or a reed and he puts it in ink and he puts it, now he's doing a Netzach. The paper is Malchut, and the quill is a vav, which is a giving, and the ink is the chesed, and it's going down, and the vav is now a conduit. I mean, this is how he sees it. He writes about this. The Ramchal, he's putting the pen to the paper, is the putting of the yesod to the malchut. It's an act of unification. So it's a sensitive way of looking at things. And then, like, what came to me is, oh my goodness, this is a cemetery, and all these letters died as they got down here, and they're bones. And now, as I put them back into me, into my mind, and I think about them, into my heart, they become alive again as they were in the mind of the person who got them. And I connect not only to the person who gave them and who wrote them down, but to the thought process that preceded that, and to the source of those ideas. Whoa, how, to sensitize ourselves to Chesed and Gevurah as processes are totally involved in our lives at every moment. So again, he sums up. He says all of this is part of the Vav. We've seen that these 6 Sfirot are the Vav of the Hav Hashem's name. The Vav is the idea of forming a connection, of giving. In essence, the first triad represents the initial reaching out to give. This giving, however, is still too powerful to be received. It is only in the second triad that the concept of giving is brought to its perfection and tailored, so to speak, to the needs of the receiver. That's Hashem vis-a-vis us, and that's us vis-a-vis us, and us vis-a-vis ourselves. That I'm tailoring my ability to give to the ability of the receiver to receive. Wow, and an amazing idea. Work with it. And then he ends off this, says, is all together then we have these 6 elements in the idea of giving. And there's a footnote here, page 74, footnote number 1. What's the source for this? Etz Chaim. Chapter 6. Gate 6, chapter 1. So I don't have it here in front of me. But that's the way I like to learn the book, is that because he was so special in the way he brought ideas down, to go back to his sources, to see them.
Can you give an example of that? The idea can you give like a real life
Of the
example?
tailoring of the desire
How is
to
that?
fit the ability of the person to receive.
Besides the way you write a book so that they'd understand it, how would it work in our own lives or with people?
In relationships,
Yes.
my children.
How do you see that?
So first of all, Chabad gives the example of a teacher and a child. So the teacher is in his 30s or 40s or 50s and sometimes in his 60s and 70s, and he's teaching a 6-year-old child. He's a dardak, a teacher of children. So he's coming in, he's just learning Etz Chaim the other day, and he was learning the Gemara also, and he's learning the Halacha, and he comes in and he's dealing with his kids, and the kids he's giving over, he takes out blocks, and he gets on the floor with them, and he's playing with blocks, and he's allowing them to form the blocks, and he's giving them support in their ability to build the blocks into various different forms. He's giving them just a little drop once in a while of direction. He's a Montessori teacher, right? He stands on the side after giving them the instructions and the materials that they need. A Montessori teacher is what God is. He gives us the materials, he gives us the environment, and then he stands on the side. He doesn't interfere with the creative process because he wants us to get the exhilaration. He tailors his love and his light down in such a way that it can take, and then it can grow from the inside. Will you please get involved with us? Why are you being a Montessori God? Because I want you to grow from the bottom up. And anyway, I'm helping you. And if you'd only know it, you'd appreciate it more. So pay attention. Okay. So I bless us all to be able to have joy in this learning, And I don't know how to do this. I have to admit it. You already know this by now, but I don't know how to do this. This was a book that came through me when I was in 1988, 1989, actually 1987, 88, 89. And I had the transcripts, and I read everything he wrote. And I saw that everything he said in class, 85% was what he wrote in other places, in his other books. And I had all these books, and it was like a big jumble in my mind, but I took notes. And then I started putting together what he said in class, and I would add to it from what he had written in his other books. So this is the book you have in front of you. It's all his language, but with me like putting them together. And I got so much out of the process that it changed my life, and it put me on a whole different track. I had been learning in a yeshiva of Mikubalim until then, and that allowed me to look up all the sources that I couldn't find and whatever, but the process was a life-changing process for me. So I bless you all that in your reading of it, that you should also be changed. And that the Sfirat HaOmer should lead us to a receiving of the Torah that is completely beyond anything we have ever had. There's no Shavuot like any other Shavuot. It's not just another Shavuot. We're getting closer to the ultimate Shavuot. We're getting closer to the ultimate Pesach. All of these according to the Kabbalah, are hints of what Hashem has in store for us. Each one has its own model: Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Purim, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret. They're all hints of higher realities. So, but they contain within them, within the framework of Shavuot, which is the learning all night and the staying up all night and the incredible power of that night, and we'll talk more about it, to receive and understand that Hashem is constantly giving us the Torah, and that He has much, much more that He wants to give us. And He wants us to have the vessels to receive His Torah. And that Torah is the light that goes into all of our midot, the midot of the Vav, of the Zeir Anpin, which we haven't mentioned, that builds Zeir Anpin to give him a Yud, to give him another 4 Sfirot. Besides his Chesed and Devorah Tever, it gives him complete 10 Sfirot, so he grows up to full maturity. And the Ari says at the beginning of his chapter on Shavuot and Kriyat Chaim and in Sha'ar Kavanot, that just like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was 18 years old, and he said in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, Ani keben shavim shana. So everybody knows that he said, Ani keben shavim shana. I'm like 70 years old. Why? Because on the night that they made him the Rosh Hashiva, when Rabbi Gamliel passed away, and they made Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah the Yeshiva, he was 18 years old, and he grew white hairs in his beard. And they say he was the reincarnation of Shmuel Navi, who died when he was 52. So 52 and 18 is 70. Whatever. And so the Ari says, symbolically, this means that Zeir Anpin, who at the crossing of the Red Sea appeared to us in vision as a warrior with a black beard. At Sinai, he appeared as an ancient of days with a white beard. The transformation of Zeir Anpin, which is our midot in their their immature form, growing up to full maturity. On Shavuot, of being ancient, of becoming, connecting to our highest level, is represented in the vision that Moshe Rabbeinu was given of the Atik Yamin, of the Ancient of Days with a white beard. And then in Ezekiel, when we read the Haftarah on Shavuot morning, and as Ezekiel sees a man on a throne, same idea. You can read the Torah or of the Lubavitcher Rebbe or the Alter Rebbe, how he sees the symbolism, and you can Rebbe Nachman. All of them are into this deep symbolism of building that what happened on Pesach is we were lifted up very high, and then we were let down the next day, and we build ourselves up slowly, incrementally, until we get to Shavuot. And when we receive something on Shavuot that is more and more of the light that will be received in the Messianic age and beyond, and we receive it even now. We bring the future into the now. We bring the eternity into the now. Hashem has so much He wants to give us. I hope that what I've said has been helpful. If there's any clarification that you need, call me, write me. You know how there's no way to give it over in words. It's really an essence. And that's why we came to Yerushalayim, and that's why we came to this world, is to receive these essences. And I am a very imperfect vessel for it, but I want you to know that it's these things that have changed people's lives. The Ari, the Gra, the Baal Shem Tov, the Ramchal, the great teachers that we have of the greatest teachings. This is the stuff that made them, that transformed them, that allowed them to believe them in themselves, to believe in themselves. That they could play roles in Hashem's drama, and to tell us that we can also. This book is really important. It's 100 shekels, and I can send it free by email, but it basically just costs money to make it, so it's open for anybody who's interested. You too, Chazaku Baruch. And the truth is, it's 3 minutes to 9, and we just have to sing a little bit more of the song. It's on page 1. At the bottom of page 1, we're singing it backwards from Chesed up. Who doesn't have? First page. Okay. Bar Yochai. Limkom avnei shayish, shayish shesh. הגעת לפני אריה לאיש גם גולת עטרת על האיש תשורי ומי ישורך. Very hard lines to translate. I did the best I could. Look at them later. בר יוחאי נזרת בגבורה ובמלחמת אשת השערה וחרב יוצאת מתרה שלבת נגד צורריך. בר יוחאי תפארת ולשדה תפוחים עלית ללקוט בו מרקחים סוד תורה כציצים ופרחים נעשה אדם נאמר בעבורך. בר יוחאי מושב עצי שיטים עומדים לימודי אדוני הם מלומדים או מופלא אור היקר הם יוקדים הלא המה יורוך מורך. בר יוחאי מושב טוב ישבת יום נסת יום אשר ברכת במערת צורים שעמדת שם קנית אותך בדרך. בר יוחאי שמן משחת קודש נמשכת ממידת הקודש נשאת ציץ נזר הקודש חבוש על ראשך פרך. בר יוחאי נמשכת אשריך שמן ששון מחברך. בר יוחאי נמשכת אשריך שמן ששון מחברך. Next Tuesday night we have a class, and then Wednesday night is Lag Bomer. We'll do the best we can to talk more about that. Okay.